Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we are continuing with our weekly shirim of the Torah of recovery with the light revealed, illuminating the path of recovery with the wisdom of Torah, and reinforcing and redeveloping the wisdom of Torah through the path of recovery. So today is going to be somewhat of a simple, short, pinpointed nakuda that I was just reading the psukim, and it's something that I want to share, and I think it's something that's deeply associated with the process of trying to find that calmness, trying to find that place of menucha within the yagia, within all of the effort. There's so much effort on the path. There's so much effort necessary in this world. But the secret is that within the heart of the effort itself, we have the secret of drawing menucha down into our lives. That's the secret of darachecha darchei noam, that the Torah is coming to teach us menuchas hanefesh, that the Torah is coming to teach us how to draw menuchas hanefesh into the yagia of the world, because it's within the yagia of the world, within the effort, within the toil, within the need for mindfulness and focus and attention and the utilization of all of the muscles of the mind to find that sweet space of acceptance and calmness of spirit and amuna, that within all of that work there rests the gift of menucha. There's a menucha that comes about specifically by way of the work and the toil. It's the secret of Vayar Menucha Ki Tov, that Yisachar, the belief that there's a schar in this world, the belief that there's a reward in this world that a person can grasp. He saw that calmness was good. He saw that that was the reward. Calmness is good. Vayar Menucha Ki Tov. V'ha'aretz ki na'ama, and he saw the land and it was pleasant. He saw that pleasantness was the secret that would come about by way of effort. And therefore, he understood the secret that the calmness of menucha can really only be found within the effort. Because anytime a person tries to kill the effort away, so they're in the opposite of menucha. They're in the opposite of menucha because that's the most unnatural thing for a human being to do, because this world is a world of toil. And therefore, to try and deny toil is to be unnatural, is to escape, is to try and get higher than this world. Embracing the toil, embracing the secret of Adam la'amal yulad, that a person is born for toil, and that avada, this world, is a process and a place of heavy work, and it's not pleasant necessarily, but ultimately it's far better, as the tzaddikim of Ishbitz point out. Once we accept that the world is a world of toil, then we can draw the secret of menucha into the toil itself. And that's the secret of the pasuk by Yisachar, who understood that, yes, a person can live and taste the light of the next world in this world. Vayar menucha ki tov, that's the light of menucha. V'ha'aretz ki na'ama, but the only way that real menucha is going to rest is when a person descends down to the ground, which is the need for toil and effort. And that's where we uncover the pleasantness that can be found in this world. And it's specifically then when we come find within the effort the pleasant calmness. So then it's viatzich molispel. A person girds their shoulders to bear the process and to engage in the process and the effort necessary to taste the sweet gift of menucha that rests within the effort itself. And so, what's the nakuda that we're going to try and draw out from this week's parsha to draw down menucha into the toil of it all? We learn it from the hero of toil. We learn it from the hero, the one who looks most severe, but the one who's going to bring about the redemptive secret, which is Yitzchak Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu, the source of laughter, the source of cracking up at reality, the source of not taking ourselves too seriously because of the seriousness of it all, because of how terribly serious everything is. The only secret is cracking up the seriousness of reality through the secret of schok, through the secret of laughter, through the secret of seeing the true background behind the foreground of what we experience in our lives and connecting to our higher power, which is the source of the sense of all rightness that brings about a life of acceptance and calmness. And when we can see through the curtains and the veils of this worldly experience, we begin to laugh because we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kavyachol grinning and the tzaddikim grinning because we all know the secret. And the secret is that Zistach al Tzevel Havalim Eno Novado, that the entirety of existence is nothing other than the appearance that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows to emerge into reality, that is felt in all of the ways that it's felt and experienced in all of the very real ways that is experienced. But ultimately, we know the punchline of the joke, which is that God will eventually reveal to us that everything was part and parcel of the fundamental emuna and yichud of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that all of the distance, all of the separation, all of the toil was ultimately part and parcel of the menucha itself. And the only thing to do in those moments is to laugh, to crack up. The sudden appearance of that which was unexpected, not unexpected because I didn't think about it, but unexpected because I assumed the matter was hopeless and this was impossible to break through. And suddenly it continues to break through. That's the secret of positive laughter. a laughter that builds, a laughter that shatters the broken thing to allow it to build itself higher. That's the light of Yitzchak, who encounters difficulty and darkness and severity in his life, but ultimately is also the birthplace of pleasure and joy and excitement and excitation and intensification and the pleasure that comes about by way of tshuva and the intensity of being a human being in this world, which is the only place that we can learn how to laugh. As the Heilige Ramak says, that the differentiation, one of the fundamental differentiations between an angel, a malach, and a human being is that the human being can laugh and experience the playfulness and the pleasure that emerges from the sha'ashuim. A malach can't understand that. A malach can't understand the struggle, and therefore they don't understand the secret of laughter. Laughter is, as the Vilna Gaon points out, one of the fundamental distinguishing markers of what makes a human being, because it's the wisdom to know the difference. Hamavchin ben davar ledavar. Hanoisen l'sechvi bina. Bina, that mindset of gevura, of Yitzchak, Lahavchin ben yom uvein laila, to make a differentiation and a cut and a severe cut. Hamevin davar mitoch davar. Bina is understanding something from within another thing. The severity of the mind is what gives birth to the laughter of the mind, in the fact that the severe cut of the mind can perpetually be connected back together, and that the past and the future are not separate from one another, but rather they're one grand unfolding narrative of the secret of Sipur Maisios Meshanim Kadmonios, the life of Yitzchak. And so Yitzchak represents the polarization of this experience. Yitzchak Avinu, for all intents and purposes, was sacrificed on the Akedah by his father Avraham, as Chazal tell us that even though Yitzchak was brought down, nevertheless, Afral Shal Yitzchak Munach al Gabe HaMizbeach. The remains of Yitzchak rest upon the Mizbeach, to the degree that Yitzchak Avinu was quite literally offered up as an Akedah, and at that point, a deep transition of reality took shape, where the Neshama of Yitzchak shifted and it became something that is viable for each and every one of us to connect to. So Yitzchak dies to a certain degree, but at the same point, Yitzchak is also very much alive because he comes down the mountain. And the Chedushe Harim, Rav Yitzchak Meir, a name that represents this very same idea, the illumination that comes from Yitzchak. He says, what's funny about Yitzchak? This is severe, this is traumatic, this is difficult, this is broken. There's a cracking up here, there's a severity here. And he says, what's funny is that Yitzchak Avinu is dead. And at the very same point, he's alive. As his name itself represents, Kate's Chai. The Osios of Yitzchak is alive and dead, the beginning and the end, at the very same time. And when a person encounters the paradox of it all, which is the reality of each and every moment, so at that point, the only thing to do is laugh about it, to be Megala, the Schik HaElyon, which the Tzemach Tzedek says is a drawing down of a new awareness of divine consciousness, reconnecting to my higher power with more intensification and more power. And so where did Yitzchak Avinu go after the Akedah? Yitzchak Avinu, we're told, he went into Gan Eden. Yitzchak Avinu learned how to be a Yid of Gan Eden, so that when he came out, he could teach the secret of Re'ei B'ni Kireach Hasadeh. I know the smell. I know the smell of Gan Eden because I live in Gan Eden. I live in the Schleik HaElyon. I live in the Sha'ashua, in the joyful acceptance and the pleasantness of not taking myself too seriously, because in the end of the day, Alts is Purim. Everything is Purim, in the place of the Tischak Liyam Acharon, in the place of the secret of the laughter of Mashiach, the laughter of the last day that reveals how everything is just the revelation of goodness upon goodness upon goodness, Od Yoter Tov, better and better and better. And so where did Yitzchak go to learn this? He went into Gan Eden. And when Yitzchak was coming out of Gan Eden, it was the time that the marriage was being arranged for him and Rivka. And so the pasuk tells us that Yitzchak was exiting. Yitzchak was exiting from the place that he had been. Yitzchak was exiting from the place that he had been, which was Gan Eden, as Chazal tell us. And the pasuk says, "V'Yitzchak ba mevo mebe'er l'chayroi, v'hu yoshev be'eretz hanegev." And Yitzchak was emerging from Be'er l'chayroi, which is the Rosh Tevos Rachmana Liba Ba'i, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants the heart of each and every one of us, that place of Yitzchak, that place of laughter. The mind is not such a funny place. The heart, the emotions are what makes it funny, because everything is consistently, the seichel is consistently broken apart by the feeling heart. And Yitzchak is coming out from this place, Be'er l'chayroi, who Yoshev Be'eretz HaNegev, and he was sitting in the Eretz HaNegev. So Chazal tell us that he was emerging from Gan Eden. And when he was emerging from Gan Eden, Rivka sees him, and she falls off of her camel. Why did she fall off of her camel? She fell off of her camel because Chazal tell us that she saw Yitzchak emerging from Gan Eden, but in a handstand pattern, that his hands were on the ground and his feet were in the air. And she saw such a ridiculous thing of Olam Hafuch Ra'isi that she fell off because of such a laughable situation. Because that's the hasaga that Yitzchak Avinu grasped. Yitzchak goes into Gan Eden after that death and after that breakdown and after that rock bottom, and he comes to uncover the secret that I can pick myself up again, even if I have to turn my life around, even if I have to do the somersault that the Piazetzner Rebbe describes, even after I have to be a meshugana, even if I have to go against the grain, even if I have to live in accordance with the principle of not taking myself too seriously over and over and over, and laughing with myself and doing a handstand and realizing that upside down and yeshin yan sheyitapech hakol. That's how Yitzchak Avinu comes out of Gan Eden. And where was Yitzchak going? V'yetze Yitzchak lasuach basadeh lifnois arev. And Yitzchak was exiting out to enter into the field as the nighttime was emerging. Vayisa enav vayar vihine gemalim ba'im. And he lifted up his eyes and he saw from a distance that camels were emerging in the horizon. Vatisa Rivka as Ena, and Rivka raised her eyes, Vatera as Yitzchak, and she saw Yitzchak, V'tipol me'al hagamal, and she fell off of the camel. And so Yitzchak Avinu was entering into the place of the Sadeh, that place of davening, that place of literally speaking directly to Hashem, where in the consciousness of Yitzchak, when something has already broken and there's a death already, there's an element of hopelessness already, and I've come to the place of realizing that even in hopelessness, there's no hopelessness, and I come back to life, and I have a Tchias HaMesim, like the Gevura of Yitzchak Avinu, and I come out of Gan Eden again, even after the Akedah. And in spite of the fact that there's an end, there's also a beginning of life here. There's a Kates, and then there's a Chai. In the Gevuros of Yitzchak, I come out, where am I going? I'm going into the field. I'm going to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm going to realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm alone in the universe and you're alone in the universe, and the only thing that we can do is have a conversation with one another. The Siach, the secret of the Siach, the 318 men that Avram Avinu sent in order to help Eliezer so that Eliezer would merit the ability to find a wife for Yitzchak. Because 318 is the secret of Ein Shum Yeyosh. It's one above Yeyosh. It means that there's no hopelessness. Yitzchak goes into the Sadeh, Lifnais Arev, to encounter all of the concealment of this world, as the Balatanya says, all of the entanglements, all of the emotional discord, and all of the pratius and the particularity and the struggle of it all, and the need for effort of it all. He goes into that place to daven mincha, that time of Hamtakas Adinim B'Sharashim, that time of Shalashudas on Shabbos, where it's the deepest din and it's the deepest transformation of severity into the deepest vessel for light, because in accordance with the descent and the intensity, so too is going to be the reverberation of light that ascends from within that place once it finds its way back up into the light. When it comes to realize that I was never far from the light, he goes into the Arif, he goes into the darkness, and the secret of what Yaakov Avinu teaches us is the tefillah of Arvis, the beginning of Torah Shabbal Peh, the beginning of the question of to be Yid in exile. How do I find Hashem in the darkness? And he raises his eyes and he sees camels emerging. So what are these camels? So the Gemara in Masechet Brachos tells us that Haroeh Gamal B'Chalom, somebody who sees a camel in their dream, it means that there was a death that was placed upon them and that they were saved from it. There was death that was placed upon them, but they were saved from it. And this is the secret of Ani Yared V'Gam Aleh, that when Hashem says to the Jewish people, I am going to descend down with you into Mitzrayim, and you're also going to come out. Meaning that hump-like process of the descent for the sake of the ascent and the descent for the sake of the ascent, like the body of the camel that has a deep downward spiral that allows one to feel for a moment that, oh my gosh, I'm falling down. But when one pays attention to the fact that ultimately the descent transitions into the gravitational speed in which a person is going to ascend upwards. And in fact, the descent was ultimately the revelation of the preparation and the instigation of a deeper revelation afterwards. That without the descent, there wouldn't have been the possibility of the ascent. Without that moment of death, without that moment of that perception of, oh my gosh, I can't do it, Hashem, and then overcoming and realizing I can do it, Hashem, when I go into the field, when I go into Lifnois Arev to clean out the stuckness of the mind to move forward, Yitzchak Avinu sees Gamalim Baim, he sees camels emerging, because the secret of the camel is the secret of Gam Aleh. Gam Aleh, I'm also going to arise afterwards. Rav Menachem Mendel of Shklov, the main student of the Vilna Gaon, writes in his commentary on the letters themselves. Rav Kook describes this in the shape of the Gimel. Those Gimel is the secret of Gam. When we're able to transition the descent of that death of the camel and that physicality and the descent into exile that it represents and the descent into our struggles and our character defects, Ultimately, when we're able to see that it's simply the preparatory stage for the ability to ascend with more ferocity and a pishnayim through the intensification and the boiling point of the gvuros that animate the chesed afterwards with a newfound clarity, and the secret of the perpetual movement that operates within the self-same experience of calmness and all rightness. So in that place, we're able to transform that descent of the camel, which is the death that was placed upon a person in their dream, and uncover the secret that we're saved from it, because then it becomes a gam zu l'tova. Then it becomes a gam ki elach begeit samavis lo irara ki ati madi. The secret of gam is also when we're able to say also this, not just this, but also this, not just this, but also that. Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim, both parts of experience, the ups and the downs, everything is with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And through that vision of what Yitzchak comes out of Gan Eden grasping, he sees the camels. He sees the fact that, there was a knisa of Misa. I entered into a place of hopelessness, the Akedah. That moment of Ayeh Hasela Oila, where are you, Hashem? Where are you, Hashem? Where are you, Hashem? And it's specifically through that place of Ayeh Hasela Oila that Yitzchak Avinu is zeicha to the secret of the Gamal, of seeing the camels. The camels are the secret of Gam Ki Elach B'Yetz Hamaves Lo Yirara Ki Ati Madi, that this is also good. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's all good. It's all good. Every part of it is good. Good is a framing of experience. It is not a definition of the content or the experience of experience. It is the framing. And what we must demand is that we understand the framing is always good, but we want it to be a good that is below 10 tfachim. We want it to be a revelation of goodness. The secret of V'gam Charvona Zachar Latov, the secret of the house of Haman going into the hands of Mordechai, that the destruction itself, that the moments of tohu, that the struggle that each and every person goes through and the toil should be revealed to intensify moments of menucha with newfound intensity each and every moment. And in that way, we'll be blessed to the secret of Yitzchak looking towards Rivka and Rivka looking towards Yitzchak, and the secret of the kisufin, and the secret of the love that takes place after loss, and the secret that love that is born again after Chayei Sarah. It illuminates a love that is broken apart, and it reveals a newfound connection in the secret of the light of Yitzchak and the laughter of Yitzchak. And we should be blessed to be able to elevate all of the parts of the experience and the ups and the downs when we find ourselves in them, and afterwards when we've done what we can to prevent them, but we find ourselves descending in whatever situation we're descending in our minds, hearts, or bodies. And we have to perpetually stop ourselves and be aware that this Yerida is just for the sake of the re-intensification of the Aliyah. So I might as well enjoy the secret of the Aliyah in the process of the Yerida. And at that point, the Yerida, the descent down, is already transformed into an Aliyah, and a person realizes that you don't have to go far. You don't have to go far in your mind. Even the slightest deviation of the mind from the attention towards our higher power is already enough for a person to have experienced that death and that entryway into Gan Eden, and that secret of the resiliency of surviving that death and coming out with a newfound light and rejuvenating the light of love, and the capacity to clean out the garbage and the filth that covers over the clarity in the garden of the mind. Be'ezras Hashem.